Alright, so today's vlog is going to be about insurance. I did say I would do one. It's something that is very confusing and it's not a lot of fun, to be honest. But I'm going to run over some basics that you need to know when you're starting to look for insurance, because it can be a bit overwhelming. Basically, this is going for UK participants of the CRP or the ICP programs. If you're from another country, most of this won't apply because I don't know anything about your insurance or the country that you're from. So for the UK, this is relevant for you. Basically, it is a visa requirement that you have medical insurance for either your whole program, which for the ICP summer program, for the whole program, or if you're for a CRP program, the first 4 months you have to have medical insurance that you take out from the UK, so that when you arrive in the country you can prove you are covered for the first 4 months. After that, you do have the opportunity to either extend your policy for the whole year, if that company you're with will let you do that, or turn to Disney insurance, which is something that you pay on a weekly basis, and it comes out of your paycheck, and it covers you for a variety of different levels of cover, but I don't know too much about it yet. I will be finding out obviously when I get there. So this is really about your first 4 months or your whole program if you're an ICP. Minimum requirements are, as listed by Yummy Jobs, medical expenses of $50,000. That's really important. It is very, very, very expensive to get medical treatment in the US, so $50,000 of medical expenses. Repatriation expenses of $7,500. Medical evacuation of the visitor, so if you're ill and you need to be flown home, that has to be for $10,000, and a deductible not to exceed $500 per illness or accident. A deductible means excess. You might see it written as an excess. Basically, when you take out an insurance policy, if you're not too aware, often you have to pay the first set amount. So you have to pay, say, the first $50 of a claim, and then they'll give you the rest as part of your insurance policy. Something that I always do is take out a visa waiver. An excess waiver. Often it only costs an extra £10 or £20 to have an excess waiver, but it means you do not have to pay anything if you have to claim. So in 2008, my first program, I got an infection in my toe, and I for weeks tried putting stuff on it from the pharmacy, from the supermarket, bandages, plasters, blah blah blah. Basically realised eventually I needed to see a doctor. It was very painful. So I went to the doctors, and before I'd even seen a doctor, it cost me about $150 to have the privilege of waiting in a waiting room. Went in, saw the doctor for about half a minute. He was the quickest doctor I've ever seen. And the long short of it is that to go to the doctor, let him have a look at my toe, prescribe me antibiotics and a steroid cream, which are pretty basic things to have in this country, cost me about $400. $400 to see a doctor and get some antibiotics makes you appreciate the NHS. But needless to say, I did have an excess waiver, so I didn't have to pay anything, and I got all that money back. If I had not taken out an excess waiver, I probably would have had to pay the first $100 to $150 of that claim, which means I wouldn't have got as much money back, and that was just on top of the fact I had to pay for the policy as well. So my bottom line is to always take out the excess waiver. Make sure you're reaching all those minimum requirements as listed by Yummy Jobs. Ensure that the company that you're going with knows you are going to work. Most people obviously take policies out for just travelling abroad on holiday, so you need to make sure you phone the company, and when you take out your policy you need to say, I'm going to work while I'm in America, I will be under a visa. That's very important, because otherwise your policy may be invalid. Also ensure that it's also a valid policy even though you may not have a return ticket. This is more relevant for the CRP obviously, but sometimes people book returns, some people don't. I only booked a one-way ticket for my CRP, so you have to ensure that the whole policy is valid for the time you are there, provided the fact you don't have a return ticket booked. That may be more slightly relevant to travel insurance. Travel insurance is something different to medical insurance. Medical insurance is a necessity, you have to have it, no option. Travel insurance you don't actually have to have, It's a really, really good idea to take it out. And you may find you're actually covered by your parents' household insurance for things like cameras and laptops and phones and stuff, or you may find that you have a family travel policy. I know some families do, so it's worth checking with your parents or whoever to see if you're already covered for things like cancellation of flights, delaying flights, losing your luggage, losing your passport, that kind of stuff. If not, take out travel insurance. It's not that expensive and it's really worth it if you do come across any problems whilst travelling. Again, check the one-way thing. I know STA, who I've taken my travel insurance out with, I believe they only cover you for the first 24 hours in the country on your travel insurance. So if my passport gets stolen after 24 hours, I'm not necessarily covered because I don't have a return ticket booked. I only have a one-way. Obviously, they're still covering me for the whole trip for my medical insurance because that's what I've paid the policy for. But yeah, do check the small print. That's the bottom line. Read the small print. It may be boring and it may be very long, but it's worth checking it. I've mentioned STA. That's who I've gone with this time because I got a 10% discount when I booked my flight and my insurance together. I don't know how long they'll continue that offer for, but it's quite good, and you know, they're quite a reputable company. Having said that, I'm not necessarily recommending STA. That may not be the best company for you. Do some research, find out who to go with. My first 2 programs I didn't go with STA. I went with a different company who was the company I had my car insurance with at the time, and it was just easy to take a policy out with them because I was already with them. So, you know, look into it, check your bank, check any other insurance companies you've already been with before, check STA, check Seven Corners, that's another one that Yummy Jobs recommends, and just basically shop around. Don't go for the first policy that you see. That's my advice.